About a week ago, I make a video on Stevewilldoit and how Steve makes his millions. And this video ends up going pretty viral.
Can we have a round of applause for that young man's cock? Why not? Come on.
Okay, I'm kidding. It doesn't really go viral, but in my eyes it does, because the man himself that I make this video on, Steve himself, when this video only had like 500 views, he ends up watching my video and he ends up leaving me a very, let's just say sexy comment. First of all, it's truly an honor to make a video on Steve and have him watch it. It's pretty cool. I'm like, no sarcasm at all. This is me genuinely being happy that Steve watched my video. This almost felt like in the movies when, in a classroom setting, right, the little boy has a crush on the little girl across the room. So, takes a piece of paper out from his backpack, writes, "Hey, I have a crush on you," crumples it up into a little ball, throws it at her, hits her on the back. She's confused. She's like, "What is this?" Picks up the piece of paper and she reads, "I have a crush on you." She's confused. Who is this? And then she looks at the boy. They both make eye contact and they smile. And then she writes back, "I have a crush on you too," right away. It's like a bond meant to happen. Crumples it back up, throws it at the kid. That's what Steve's comment felt like to me. He watched my video and commented back, gave me back attention. That's a win-win for both of us. In my video, Steve comments, "Really took a genius to figure out that I have a casino sponsorship." Crying laughing emoji, crying laughing emoji. Also try to find me promoting a code. I bet you can't. I don't use codes. Confused guy emoji. The only thing that caught my attention in that comment is that Steve called me a genius, and that indeed I am. I'm not gonna lie, initially I was pretty confused what he meant by "I don't use codes," because I personally don't gamble online. I don't gamble at all. So I didn't know what he meant by that. So as I'm about to go to Google and type in, what does it mean when in online gambling somebody doesn't use codes? As I was about to type that in, it hit me. I'm like, oh, promo codes. What Steve's trying to say is that there's technically no way for these gambling sites knowing if these users are coming from Steve, because he doesn't really give out promo codes, right?
Roobet, use promo code Stevewilldoit. Shout out Roobet, they made it possible.
My whole point of making these two series videos to kind of give you a little bit more history on Roobet and how Roobet is more to blame on this whole thing than Steve or other influencers. So let's transition over and give you a little bit of history on Roobet. Let's quickly break down Roobet's business model, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it a scam, not really a model. In the US, it is illegal to partake in crypto gambling, right? So you can't do it at all. This is why Roobet established itself in Mexico, where it is completely legal to conduct online gambling. The problem here is though that in Mexico and South America, there's only about 2 million people that hold cryptocurrency, whereas across the border in the US, we have 48 million people that have cryptocurrency. So your clientele, your client market is so much more vast and larger in the US. So it only makes sense for online gambling sites to promote themselves to the US versus South America, where they can technically legally conduct gambling. So knowing that they can't technically bet in the US, what Roobet and these other online gambling websites are doing, they're using American influencers to promote their website from the US. And they have American users use a VPN, a virtual private network, to hide their location and allow them to bet on these sites. So nobody really knows where they're betting from. Which this whole practice of using VPNs to gamble through Roobet and all these other online gambling sites technically violates Roobet's terms of service and their private policy. And even though this violates their terms of service, this is a win-win for Roobet, because Roobet is a gambling site, and typically, most of the time, most users lose money on these sites. But the ones that do win, they also use VPNs. And when a VPN is used, Roobet can kick in their KYC and their AML protocols, which is their Know Your Client and anti-money laundering protocols. Because withdrawing a large amount requires a full completion of the KYC and AML protocols, which Roobet can legally freeze those funds indefinitely and not pay those users out. So in other words, Roobet can run this multi-billion-dollar scam without incurring any losses. And some of these influencers that promote these sites are completely okay with knowing how much people lose on these gambling websites. And even the ones that do win are most of the time not even paid out. All right, look, I don't mean to come off as this dude that's completely hating on Steve. I'm not hating on Steve. I've seen Steve's videos, right? Outside of him promoting these gambling sites, he's actually a pretty decent guy. He gives a lot of what he earns to those that need it more than he does. A lot of his giveaways are very very honorable, and I like that. I respect that. And also, how can I hate on a dude that calls me a genius? Why would I hate on that guy? So my point is not to hate on Steve. My whole point is that the common denominator in this whole mess is Roobet and all these other gambling sites. They're the ones that are scamming these users. They're the ones that needs to be stopped. But I do admit, in my first video, I was a little bit more on the mean side towards Steve. And I didn't mean to be. These are supposed to be educational videos, and everything I stated are factual statements. But with that said, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and be the bigger person and take this moment to
apologize to absolutely nobody.